16 Russian hypersonic missiles launch at the same time, and every single one destroys itself in the air. Eastern Ukraine. 2 in the morning. 16 streaks of fire cross the night sky simultaneously, each one moving at 10 times the speed of sound. Each one costs more than a fighter jet. Each one was called unstoppable by the man who ordered them built. In a dark room somewhere inside Ukraine, a man presses a button on a laptop. The missiles begin to break apart. Not shot down, not intercepted, not touched by a single Patriot battery. Their own navigation computers receive a signal, stronger than the satellites above them, and try to correct course. At 12,000 kilometers per hour, a correction of that magnitude tears the airframe apart. The fuselage fractures, the warhead tumbles, hypersonic metal rains into empty fields. 16 launched, 0 arrived. 16 hours before this, the sky over eastern Ukraine was quiet. A civilian electronics lab in Kiev. No uniforms, no military insignia. 6 men in their mid-30s, former businessmen, not soldiers, gathered around a workbench covered in circuit boards and old Soviet-era technical manuals. Their leader goes by a single code name, the Alchemist. No rank, no government salary, no official army contract. Just a system they built themselves, and a question nobody could answer yet. Would it hold against 16 Kinzhals launched at once? The system had already deflected dozens of missiles in smaller waves, had already confused thousands of glide bombs into crashing in empty terrain. But 16 simultaneously. A coordinated saturation strike was a different calculation, a different kind of pressure. The Alchemist checks the signal output on his screen. Stable. Coverage confirmed across the target zone. He sits back. He waits. Then the radar warning receivers across the Eastern Front light up at the same time. Before we get into the next part of this, if you are watching and you have not subscribed yet, stop and do it now. Hit the bell. Because military analysis at this level, real scenario, real technology, real stakes, disappears fast on YouTube. The platform buries it, hides it, pulls it out of your feed without warning. You may never find a channel covering modern electronic warfare like this again. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and come back to this. Because what comes next is heavy. Eastern Front. 2 in the morning. Radar warning receivers lighting up across the line. The detection system registers 16 simultaneous high-speed tracks in the eastern sector. Altitude, velocity, trajectory, consistent with hypersonic launch. The geometry is immediately clear to every operator watching the screen. This is not a probing strike. This is not a test. This is a saturation attempt, designed to overwhelm any single defensive system by sheer volume. 16 missiles, launched at once, from 2 different airfields inside Russian territory. The pattern recognition software on the monitoring network flags the count within seconds. The Alchemist's team receives the alert on their own display. 16 tracks. Inbound. Time to impact. Under 4 minutes. No panic. No confusion. Just data. And a decision made months ago when this exact scenario was war-gamed. The Lima system increases output power. The false GPS signal strengthens across the coverage zone. Every bomb, every missile, every guided munition entering that airspace now receives the same instruction from the same spoofed satellite feed. You are not over Ukraine. You are over Lima, Peru. 13,000 kilometers off course. Correct immediately. And the Kinzhals, flying at 12,000 kilometers per hour, try. That is the detail that breaks the physics. A hypersonic missile is not designed for sharp corrections at terminal velocity. The Russian engineers who built the Kinzhal, and it is genuinely a remarkable piece of engineering, designed it for a straight-line attack profile. Fast, direct, nearly impossible to intercept on a predictable vector. What they did not design it for was a 90-degree navigation correction at Mach 10, triggered by a spoofed GPS signal from a civilian laptop in a basement in Kiev. The first 3 airframes fracture above the cloud layer. The G-force required to follow the navigation correction exceeds the structural limits of the fuselage. The missile does not explode. It simply comes apart. Hypersonic shrapnel disperses across a 10-kilometer radius of empty sky. 5 more follow within 40 seconds. 8 missiles down. 8 still inbound. Still coherent. Still on vector. Here is where the story becomes something else entirely. The remaining 8 Kinzhals carry a newer version of the guidance package. A hardware revision Moscow introduced specifically to harden the receiver against electronic interference. The Lima's original signal sweep is not enough. The Alchemist's team can see it in the data. The 8 tracks are holding course, not correcting. Not yet. The Alchemist changes the sweep frequency in real time. This is the part nobody outside this team fully understands. The Lima is not a jammer. Traditional jamming is noise. You shout so loud next to someone's ear that they cannot hear anything else. Jamming can be defeated by signal strength, by redundancy, by antenna design. Russia spent 2 years doing exactly that. Upgrading the Kometa guidance antenna from 4 elements to 8, then 12, then 16, each version more resistant to noise. The Lima does something different. It does not shout. It talks. It sends a false GPS signal, precisely formatted, precisely timed, more powerful than the real satellite feed above it. And the missile's computer simply believes it. Hears 2 signals, chooses the stronger one, and follows where it points. When the Alchemist adjusts the frequency, the 8 remaining Kinzhals begin receiving the new sweep. 3 more attempt course corrections. 3 more airframes cannot survive the physics of what their own navigation computers are asking them to do. They break apart at altitude. Metal fragments fall across a frozen agricultural zone. No buildings within 8 kilometers. 5 Kinzhals remain. They push through to terminal phase. Their targeting solutions are corrupted. The navigation computers have been receiving conflicting data for the final 90 seconds of flight. Not enough to break the airframes, but enough to destroy the precision. The 5 missiles impact farmland, a forest, a frozen tributary 12 kilometers from the nearest settlement. No casualties, no structures destroyed, no military positions hit. 16 launched, 0 on target. The secondary strike begins 4 minutes later. 30 guided glide bombs. Massive Soviet-era munitions retrofitted with a cheap GPS navigation kit. Released from Russian strike jets still flying outside Ukrainian air defense range. 40 kilometers back. Safe. The pilots never need to enter the threat zone. They release and turn home. Every bomb opens its folding wings. Every bomb's guidance computer activates. Every bomb begins receiving the Lima signal. Destination: Lima, Peru. 28 glide bombs veer off course within the first 30 seconds of glide. They drift toward uninhabited terrain, fields, forests, the same frozen river. 2 malfunction on release and fall back into Russian territory. 30 launched. 0 on target. The Alchemist's team documents every track on their screen. Every deviation. Every impact coordinate. The numbers are entered into the log quietly, without ceremony. Not panic, Not chaos, just the routine record of a system doing exactly what it was designed to do. And this is not fiction. In October of 2025, Russia launched over 1,370 FAB glide bombs over Ukraine in a single week. 869 fell along one 700-kilometer stretch of the front. The result? 8 soldiers with minor injuries. No city destroyed, no civilian killed. Not because Patriot batteries worked overtime. Not because NATO sent a new interceptor. Because a team of Ukrainian civilians with no government funding and no army contract built a GPS spoofing system in their own lab and made every Russian bomb believe it was flying over South America. They named the system Lima, because that is where the missiles thought they were going. Since February of 2023, when the first Lima units went operational in Kharkiv and Zaporizhzhia, the system has neutralized 58 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. Over 10,000 glide bombs and drones have impacted uninhabited terrain inside its coverage zones. In November of 2025 alone, the Alchemist's team documented 19 Kinzhals neutralized in 2 weeks. Putin called the Kinzhal Invincible in 2018. Biden said it was almost impossible to stop in 2022. In 2 weeks of November of 2025, one civilian team stopped 19 of them. With music, because there is one more detail. The Lima does not just spoof the GPS signal. It injects an audio signature into the navigation data. The Ukrainian patriotic anthem dedicated to a historical figure the Kremlin despises above all others. Every Kinzhal, every glide bomb, every Shahed drone that loses its navigation inside a Lima coverage zone receives that signal as it falls toward an empty field. It was not a technical requirement. It was a message. Back in the targeting log. The Russian strike package withdraws. The MiG-31s and Su-34s turn north toward Russian airspace. Mission failure logged. No confirmed impacts on designated targets. Moscow will know within the hour. The commanders who authorized the strike, who believed 16 simultaneous hypersonic launches would finally saturate and defeat the Lima, now have a different calculation to run. The front holds. Not one position changed. Not one coordinate shifted. The Kinzhal, the weapon called Invincible, failed not because a better weapon stopped it. It failed because a man in a basement built something that made it stop itself. That is the lesson this war keeps delivering. 21st century conflicts are not being decided by the most expensive systems. They are not being decided by hypersonic missiles, invisible fighters, or 3-ton bombs. They are being decided by small, invisible teams in poorly lit rooms who understand the enemy's technology at a level the enemy did not expect. Russia spent billions. The Alchemist spent a few million. And in that exchange, Ukraine is winning. The missile that cannot be stopped, stopped itself. Now I want to know what you think. Should Western governments be funding and deploying the Lima system across every NATO ally on Russia's border? Or does making it public destroy the operational advantage? That is not a simple question. Leave your answer in the comments. The debate starts right there, and I read every one. And if you made it to the end of this video and have not subscribed yet, subscribe now and hit the bell. Because the next video is already in production, and it is heavy. We are going inside the factory in Cheboksary, the single facility that manufactures the guidance brain of every Kinzhal, every caliber cruise missile, every guided glide bomb Russia has. Ukraine has already struck it 4 times in 9 months. We are going to show you what happens if they finally take it down for good. Subscribe, hit the bell, and see you next time.